For making half square triangles and quarter square triangles, you start off with 2 squares. You'll be making 2 at a time. 2 squares of the different colors you want in your half square triangles. First step is to cut them apart. I like to use my ruler, so you would be using either the Stripology Mini, Quarters Mini, or Stripology Squared or XL if you were doing larger squares. Cut them apart. They're layered right sides together, so now I take them straight to my sewing machine and sew on the cut edge. Once you have that, you press to the dark side or whatever your pattern tells you, and you end up with 2 half square triangles. And then the next step is just squaring them up to the size that you will be making or you will need. So that also depends on which ruler you'll be using, the Quarters Mini, the Squared Mini, the XL, or the Squared. If you were making quarter square triangles, you take this a step further. For half square triangles, you start with squares that are an inch larger than your finished size of the half square triangles. For quarter square, you start with squares that are an inch and a half larger than your finished quarter square triangle. You make the half square triangles just like I did before. Then you take 2 of those, you lay them together, seams nesting, and you could have this in just the 2 colors repeated, or you can have 4 different colors here, all kind of variations. If you're doing 4 different colors, you'll be making 4 units at a time, just so you know. So you'll be making a half square triangle with 2 colors and the other 2 with the other 2 colors. Lay these together, and then same step here. You're going to cut them apart. Now, when I cut these apart, I want to make sure that the seam gets aligned with one of my horizontal lines on my ruler. So always check that, because that is kind of more important than hitting it corner to corner. Once you have that, you will just make your cut. You're going to do the same thing. Sew right on those cut edges. Take this straight to your sewing machine, and then you are going to press. I like to press my quarter square triangles into a circle or spin the seams, as you can see here on the back. And I have a video for you for that technique, but that's an easy way. Now, if you wanted to make a combination unit, you would actually start off the same way as you would make your half square triangles. And for that, you need to start with squares that are an inch and a half larger than your finished unit. So then you end up with half square triangles. And then for the third fabric, which, as I'm talking about combination units, which will look like this. So the larger triangle fabric, you cut those squares an inch larger than your finished unit. So then you just lay this one, very similar to quarter square triangles. You lay this one like this on top of the half square triangle, making sure the half square triangle seam is horizontal, and you follow the same techniques. You're going to cut this diagonally, corner to corner, take it straight to your sewing machine, sew on the cut edge, and press. Now, one thing to make sure you know when you make these units, that you will end up with mirror image units. So you will have the white on the left side on one and on the right side of the other. So just make a note of that. You might need to make extras, or sometimes you might have these 2 the same fabrics, and then it really doesn't matter. So you can play with that technique. Again, finish it off by squaring it up using whatever ruler for the size you are making, and you are good to go.